So to be quite honest, I've done some thinking since the finale to WandaVision came out, and I've done some reevaluation on my end. The conclusion I've come to is that WandaVision is honestly very disappointing. I have 4 main problems with the show. 1. The show forces us to feel bad for Wanda even though she's the bad guy and ends up getting away with everything anyways. 2. Doctor Strange was nowhere to be seen. 3. The finale was extremely disappointing and cheated viewers out of a big payoff for watching the show. And last but not least, my 4th problem with the show is that it left more questions open without really answering anything. Just an FYI before I get started, later in this video when I get into the 4th problem addressed here, I will be answering some of the questions that WandaVision left open to speculation. However, let's not get ahead of ourselves and start this video off by addressing my first problem and how it could have been fixed. Why were we forced to feel sympathy for someone that's clearly a bad guy? The direction the MCU is currently taking with Wanda is to make her the main villain or at least some type of rogue hero in the next addition to the MCU. After all, Wanda did imprison an entire town of people against their will. While yes, this was done out of the initial heartbreak and loneliness she felt, that doesn't make it okay or morally good. The show tries its best to manipulate the viewer into feeling bad for Wanda, which we shouldn't have to. And worst of all, Wanda never really repents for her actions. Clearly, Wanda is the bad guy in the series, but at no point does she really have to come to terms with this problem she's created, other than having a slap on the wrist for what she did. There should have been some sort of scene where she gets her comeuppance, but no such scene exists. To be fair though, I don't think there is much that Marvel could have done to punish Wanda because in the show, she is literally all powerful. So thinking that she would have been easily contained or captured is pretty much out of the question. However, what I think had the potential to fix this issue is forcing a big showdown between her and White Vision. How would this have solved the problem, you may ask? Think about it. If a showdown between the two of them had actually gone down, I imagine the two characters being brought to a standstill where Wanda must then decide if she lets herself get killed or kill her former husband. This is a very tough decision for her, which probably would have ultimately led to her choosing to kill White Vision, which would have done wonders for the finale. I say this because if she killed White Vision, she would have been able to have a proper burial with his real body, which not only would have given Wanda and Vision a genuine goodbye moment, but Wanda would have also been forced to rethink her actions throughout the entirety of the show. Now this is all pretty solid, but you might be thinking that Wanda wouldn't have felt bad for killing White Vision. However, that's not necessarily true. Note that when she sees White Vision for the first time, she is clearly captivated by his presence and believes that this is truly her husband. Obviously, she still has an emotional attachment to him, even with Vision in this white state. I really do believe that if all of what I said actually took place in the show, it would have hit our emotions way harder than what we saw in the finale. What we got in the finale was this scene between her and Hex Vision, which, while it's a decent scene, it just doesn't hit home. Why are we supposed to care about some fake version of Vision? It makes no sense, and I think that forcing her to kill Vision and then giving him a proper burial would have not only made her rethink her actions from creating the Hex, but it would have given Wanda some form of final resolution to Vision's death. Now on to the next problem I had. The next problem I had also ties in as a potential fix to this first problem. Doctor Strange was not brought in. Doctor Strange not being brought into the show after having this much magic thrown around is kind of ridiculous. There better be some amazing explanation as to how Doctor Strange was not so much as alerted of the enormous power that Wanda manifested throughout the entirety of the series. Now before I explain where Strange was, I want to talk about how he could have served as a potential fix to our first problem. Our first problem being that Wanda never really repented for anything. If Doctor Strange had intervened in the finale, things could have gone drastically different. The way I imagine the scene taking place is Doctor Strange showing up during the battle with Agatha, and seeing the ensuing chaos, he attempts to talk Wanda into freeing Westview. Then in a fit of rage, Wanda retaliates, which causes Strange to cast a spell that momentarily captures Wanda. At which point, Strange could have done some magic that forces her to see the pain and imprisonment she forced onto the people of Westview. Then the scene could have ended with Wanda breaking free, saying she doesn't feel remorse at all for what she did because she just wants her husband back. Not only would this have been great for the show, but this could have been an amazing transition from Wanda being a good guy to now being the villain, because this is clearly the direction the MCU is taking at the moment. As of how it is now, having Wanda as the villain just feels unnatural, and I definitely think that bringing Doctor Strange into the mix would have helped to ease us into the next phase of the MCU. Now it's time to answer the big question, which is, why didn't Doctor Strange make an appearance? One thing a lot of people have been forgetting, or at least not taking into account, is that The events in WandaVision take place like 2 to 3 weeks after Hulk's initial snap that brought everybody back. Now, even though everyone was brought back, the Infinity Stones in this reality have still been destroyed by Thanos, meaning that Doctor Strange and the Masters of the Mystic Arts have lost their strongest weapon, leaving them susceptible to all sorts of chaos. It is possible that while WandaVision is happening, Doctor Strange is dealing with his own issues and never even had a chance to notice what was happening in Westview. It's also important to note that Wanda did place a concealment spell on the Hex, so it is possible that it may not even be on Strange's radar. This is all speculation though, and should not be taken as facts. All of these questions should be answered in the upcoming movie, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Let's just hope Marvel doesn't pull a fast one on us. Another thing I hope is that you guys smash the like button. If you guys have made it this far in the video, it's only fair that you guys show me some love. And with that said, let's move on to my next problem with the show. There's no big payoff for watching the show. I feel like most viewers of WandaVision felt kind of cheated with the finale. Imagine watching YouTube videos and reading Reddit forums for weeks and building the series up in your head to be this amazing TV show, and then the finale comes and you realize that nothing that happened in the show really furthers the future of the MCU. The show felt more like a spin-off than an actual inclusion in the MCU. They built WandaVision up to be this amazing storyline where Wanda has to come to terms with Vision's death, which in hindsight is a great concept for a show and had the potential to be something amazing. It was just executed very poorly. Now here are some things I feel like could have helped the show be more successful. Number 1. Longer runtime. Even if just the last 3 or 4 episodes had a longer runtime, this would have definitely helped in easing the viewer into everything that happened in the finale. The finale felt super rushed and just didn't give the viewer an apt amount of time to process everything. Number 2. More episodes. With more episodes in the series, there would have been much more time to dedicate to developing the story and building up the emotional turmoil that was brewing up inside of Wanda. In fact, it was actually planned that WandaVision had more episodes than we actually got, and the final product that we actually did get felt super rushed when you really take in everything that happened in the series. Number 3. Not bringing Vision back and giving him a proper burial. Why Vision flying off into the sunset just feels wrong. What was the point of killing him off twice if they're just going to bring him back again? What was the point of Thanos even being in the movies if he doesn't do any real damage? Honestly, at this point, it just feels like nothing is final in the MCU, and that the writers can just pull something out of their little magic hat whenever they want. Leaving Vision dead in the series would have cemented the overall theme of the show. Life doesn't give you second chances. The entire show is Wanda's second chance at life, and we see how impossible it is to give yourself a second chance, and that some things in life are just final. Life can't be a sitcom. Things don't always fix themselves by the end of the episode. Sometimes you just have to learn to deal with the issues and obstacles that life brings your way. Bringing Vision back completely undermined this entire story arc, and it felt like it might as well have been thrown out the window. Killing Vision off for real by killing off the white version of Vision would have given Wanda a chance to have a proper funeral for Vision, which would have successfully concluded that entire story. Now on to my last problem with the series. Why were there so many unanswered questions? Unfortunately, I don't have any super concrete answers, but I do have some possible explanations for all the questions that many of you have. Number 1. How was Sword tracking Hex Vision if he wasn't the real Vision? To explain this one, it's important that we define what Hex Vision is. Now I believe it's safe to assume that this version of him is made up of real vibranium. Why is it safe to assume? Well, how else would he have been able to be in a close combat battle with White Vision if he weren't made of real vibranium? If he weren't made of real vibranium, this fight between the two wouldn't have been as close as it was, as Hex Vision would have gotten completely washed. Now knowing this, it's entirely possible that Hayward was able to track Hex Vision using this technique of tracking his vibranium. Number 2. Why was Sword tracking Hex Vision when they already have the real Vision under their control? This question has a relatively simple answer, and it's that Hayward saw Hex Vision as another sentient weapon. Basically, why have one sentient weapon when you can have 2? Of course, Hayward didn't know that Hex Vision was tied to Wanda's reality, and he thought that he might be able to snatch him up as well. Number 3. Did Wanda create an Infinity Stone out of nothing? This question also has a somewhat simple explanation. I believe that Wanda didn't completely fathom up an entirely new Mind Stone from thin air. However, I believe she was able to somewhat supplement Vision's missing Mind Stone with her own powers. This was most likely done by utilizing her amplified Mind Stone powers with her chaos magic. It's possible that using this method, Wanda was able to create a substitute Mind Stone for Vision's head. Also, it's very clear that the Mind Stone and Wanda have some sort of special connection, since Wanda's powers were initially multiplied by the Mind Stone. So, it's not outside the realm of possibilities for Wanda to be able to create a cheap replica of the stone, with the only downside being that it must remain inside of her hex. Further evidence that proves this is that the color of the lines and waves that create hex vision look very similar to that of the original Mind Stone. Obviously, Wanda has to have some type of Mind Stone power within inside of her, and this is how she was able to create such a good replica of the Mind Stone within her hex. Number 4. Why didn't White Vision stick around to help Wanda? Now there's two possible explanations for this. The explanation I choose to believe is that the sheer amount of knowledge and memories White Vision gained was too much to process within a short amount of time. And I believe that as of right now, White Vision is on his own and trying to experience life similar to that of how the Hulk did it in Thor Ragnarok, meaning that he may just need some alone time to evaluate his existence. Now the second more likely explanation is that White Vision is just emotionless. As we all should know by now, in the comics, White Vision is said to be exactly like original Vision, except White Vision is emotionless. He feels no emotional attachment to anything and therefore has no moral duty to go and help Wanda. This seems like a more plausible explanation as to why White Vision leaves. Number 5. Why didn't Hex Vision tell Wanda about White Vision? Honestly, this question kind of stumped me at first, but I managed to bring up two possible explanations. One explanation is that Hex Vision was more concerned about his own existence ending, and the thought of White Vision being out and about simply slipped his mind. Another possible explanation for why Hex Vision remains silent is that Hex Vision knows about White Vision being emotionless. The reason this matters is because Hex Vision could have possibly foreseen a situation in which he tells Wanda about White Vision. Wanda would then desperately go on a quest to find White Vision, only to be left severely heartbroken that it's not the Vision that she knows and loves. Sure, he has all the memories of Vision, but with no emotional attachment to them, life for Wanda would have seen no change. That one thing in life that would bring her joy would still be missing. So I believe that Hex Vision foresaw this possible outcome, and knowing that it could crush Wanda's heart even more, he chose to remain silent about the whole situation. Or it's possible that the writers just suck at their job. Either way, let's move on. Number 6. How did Wanda know how to make the runes? The Scarlet Witch is just that powerful. Who cares about needing to know how to cast enchantments when you're the Scarlet Witch? No, but seriously, this is probably the closest to a real explanation that we are ever going to get. It's also described as one of the basics of magic, which I would equate to riding a bike. So I'm sure the rune spell wasn't too difficult for Wanda to work out, but still, it does seem like a cheap cop-out to just explain that Wanda is just that powerful. I will, however, state that Wanda somehow had her magic on autopilot without really knowing how it works. So it's possible that in this same vein, Wanda was somehow able to reverse engineer the spell. Meaning that even though Wanda may not entirely know how the rune spell works, it got the job done, so who really cares? This brings me to my last and final question. Number 7. Why did they bring Quicksilver into the series? Simple answer, Marvel loves trolling us. There was actually no reason to bring in Quicksilver other than to subvert our expectations, but honestly, it just pissed more people off than it did subvert our expectations. My brother and I screamed so loud when Evan Peters first showed up because we honestly thought that they were going to have an X-Men crossover, only for the show to pull the old trickaroo on us and just straight up troll. They even named the guy Ralph Boner, which is like, come on. I really don't appreciate how Marvel played us like this, and there was no real reason to include Evan Peters at all. This was a clear troll on their part. I will say that most of these questions came from a comment on my last WandaVision video. The user's name that came up with these questions was Enzyme Orange, so shout out to them for giving me some good questions to answer in this video. Let me know if you guys think my solutions to WandaVision would have made for a better show or not. Keep an eye out for another iceberg video in the future, as I think my next video should be a fun watch. If you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe for more content in the future, and remember to hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss any of my uploads. With that said, I will see you all in the next video.